live environment, sometimes things fall apart. And, there are some teams that just unfortunately do operate like that. But Dynamic, they have shown to us before how awesome they can be, especially in a moment of great duress. I.e. IPL4 comes to mind.
Yeah.
They managed to actually pull out that game against Curse. But you know what? It's only game 2. This hasn't been decided yet. And got champ select here. Malphite and Cassiopeia actually going to be the first 2 bans to roll out.
Yeah, so some standard stuff, but Malphite, was pretty disruptive in that last game. We'll see how they kind of change things up. But I don't know. Right now, banning off the Shen definitely works as well. We'll see whether or not MTW decides to ban off the Rumble, because Dynamic, they'll definitely play Rumble as well. Both of them will. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Dynamic, if they're not comfortable with it, they might as well just ban it off, because Balls, definitely looked very strong in the top lane.
Yep. Sticking with the Shen ban here for Dynamic. Vladimir, MTW going to go ahead and take it upon themselves to take that ban away from Dynamic. And Nocturne also going to be consistent ban here as well. Nunu is left. No, never mind. Alistar's open.
Yeah, no, that's
Boom.
Absolutely huge. And there's the reason why they banned out the Nocturne, because they had a couple of options left that they would be very comfortable with. And now they have a much more aggressive jungler. Atlanta will be very happy with that. So we'll see what kind of pressure they can put on the map. As a result, MTW probably looking to grab more of a controlling jungler. They're going to want an AD carry that's pretty survivable. So Ezreal as a pick would be very safe right now. Aphromoo, again, he's really strong at Ezreal, if you haven't heard. But when you have a strong initiator like Alistar, you want someone that's very safe. So Ezreal definitely works out. They could go with the Corki as well, but we'll see what they decide with that.
Yeah, and Alistar, he's a dangerous cow. He's a very dangerous cow, and just those ganks, like I mentioned before, once he hits 6, all those paths, the world becomes his grazing field. You just go ahead, pop that ult, and just be wherever he needs to be. And you know what? Just I am a little envious though, because we did see Alistar earlier versus Dynamic. World Elite had him. And those headbutt pulverizes every single time were on point. And I just hope that Dynamic and if Atlanta's actually going to go ahead and take him for a ride into the jungle, that he can be as on point as equals to how destroyed they were earlier today.
Yeah, and MTW actually going for the same kind of comp as before.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what Dynamic decides to pick. They could, sit back for a little bit, grab the Corki. That would definitely work out well for them. But they have the option of later on they can grab like a Karthus that would do very well against that kind of frontline team.
Mm-hmm.
They would have plenty of AoE damage. So, we'll see where they kind of go with that. Rumble is open. So Dynamic, they could pick Rumble if, Zion Spartan wants to play that. He's known for playing, bruisers a little bit more. But I don't know. We'll have to see where he goes.
Yeah. What other options are available for looking in the face?
That's what I like to see.
Ooh.
Just go for it.
That's the thing that I am okay. Good. A little bit more standard Shyvana, but here's the thing too.
Well, that's kind of the weird thing with Shyvana would be that it means that they're not putting Alistar in the jungle, and so right now the Lee Sin pick, it gives them a little bit of flexibility, because yes, Graves and Alistar would be a strong lane, but it could be kind of wasted throwing the Alistar down in that bottom lane if they're playing against the defensive lane, which Soraka already is.
Yeah. So we'll see how the rest of the picks come in, but. I wanted to ask though, what other options do you have when you recognize, in Champ Select that you're going to be going up against a lot of tank?
You just need lots of AoE damage. You need, strong team fight control. You want them to kind of group up, and then you blast them with your AoE. So really, some of the best options are already banned. Cassiopeia and Vladimir are two of the strongest champions when you're going up against that kind of melee, tank kind of comp. So they're actually MTW is actually just going to go, straight for the same team. And the big thing is, if they're tanky enough, then they won't have to worry about the initiation from Alistar. He's going to put some pressure on the lanes, particularly the mid lane. Ryze could be kind of vulnerable there. Shyvana's definitely a strong pickup in their jungle, because Alistar is a jungler. He's not slow, but you want to play a controlling jungler against him. And Shyvana has that mobility. Will also be incredibly strong in the mid game.
Just dawned on me that Zyra's open, but Orianna's open too. And you may not have the Malphite, but when you get in with the Alistar, you put the orb on him. You get that ult. You get that want. You got that going in as well. Does actually accomplish the same thing.
Yeah, and actually, now that they're seeing this, it is a smart decision to send Alistar in the bottom lane. They are going to be looking at that Rumble. And so the big thing with the Orianna is incredibly strong right now. I really like seeing her played. Nubby Pooh Bear of Orbit is, one of the few people that really plays her. There's a couple of people, but not a lot of people really play her that much. But she's definitely coming back after, her buffs for a while now. She can be very strong. Her kiting potential is phenomenal. And she actually does work very well against these kind of short-range teams because she can just kite them all day, slowly poke them down.
That Yorick could hurt. That Yorick could hurt really bad because if you do manage to lose out in tank war, if you have that ghoul, if you have that revive available to, that's still a bunch of damage. Even if you do manage to get that kill, that could hurt huge.
Yeah, and Yorick's a pretty well-known pairing against Rumble. It's a pretty common setup. Yorick does very well in the early levels. You can try and bully him around a little bit, but we'll have to see how they're going to play in that top lane. Yorick, you can also prevent some of that farm from Rumble if he's trying to farm with his harpoons. You throw off your ghouls. It helps prevent Rumble from chasing you down and whatnot. So that's a pretty generally safe pick, but we'll have to see. It is a very tanky lineup once again.
Yeah.
If Ryze is bursted down, the Yorick ultimate, they can bring him back. But I don't know, Dynamic, they have a lot of nice CC. They have, a lot of survivability, multiple shields going on their team, so they can, try and kite them out. And that's the big thing. They have kind of a single target burst, but then kiting team, where they can just try and kite out mTw. And mTw, they have really poor initiation. Like, they have the Urgot swap, yes, that will work out for them. But if they can't get in range for the Urgot swap or get it off, then Dynamic can just kite them all day and slowly wear them down.
Yeah, the Malphite's not on there. The Malphite was banned out. The Rumble's no longer on their side, so they just need to try and get what they can. But the thing is, though, they could just wait. They could just chill out and wait for Dynamic to actually just come on in with their ult, with their initiation, and just well, since you guys visited me, I'm just gonna go ahead and grace you with my presence and just trying my best to take you guys out. Here comes the swap. Here comes Ryze. Here comes the Dragon Form. Here comes the Ghoul. It could be a little bit messy, but with that kind of game plan, you may see just Dynamic realizing this, well, you know what? If you're going to be waiting on us, well, let's just farm.
Yep. Well, we're going to have to see how Dynamic can try and bring this around. They have a pretty strong team comp, and it's a really interesting comp. We've seen a lot of Lee Sin and Orianna in the past. It's a really nice combo. You can pick up kills pretty easily. The kiting potential, again, is phenomenal. They do have a pretty strong late game. The mid game, though, is fantastic for mTw. That's the big thing, if Dynamic can get over that hump, because Urgot, Ryze, and Shyvana, they're all going to be hitting peak efficiency all around the same time. Shyvana does fall off a little bit as the game progresses, as it gets into the late game. Because she's just a tanky body. Like, she doesn't scale well for her damage or anything like that. But the mid game, Shyvana's almost unstoppable. So they have an almost unkillable team. We'll see how Dynamic can fare against it.
So we saw last game, Ryze managed to get a good amount of chunk down onto Anivia in the mid lane despite that range disadvantage. Let's talk. How does the Orianna Ryze matchup look here?
It's a pretty safe matchup. Orianna actually has a nice little advantage. She can push Ryze into the tower, which is one of the big concerns that you always face with Ryze, is people pushing you into the tower. But she also has the range that Ryze, isn't really that much of a concern. Before Ryze has much mana, it's going to be difficult for, Ryze to harass Orianna much. Orianna can kind of bully him around. I don't know, we'll have to see how Paradoxical's building, because a lot of times you can just, if you go with your W, you're going to have a little bit more burst damage, but a lot of times you can just max the Q and the E on Orianna, and just the shield is so strong for trading harass in lanes. So we'll have to check that out. A big thing is that Orianna is going to be very safe from the Shyvana ganks. Like, there's not a lot that they can do to pressure Orianna. So Orianna is one of those super farming champions. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Paradoxical have 200 CS in 20 minutes. Like, that's almost a given, on Orianna, particularly since they don't have a good means of pressuring her.
So, and also another great tool coming from Orianna as well. That orb in that bush to get the vision necessary is just a fantastic, wonderful tool to have, especially when you have a team that is looking to be the responders. Like, if you just manage to get, as the unfortunate thing too, if you manage to catch out all mTw's team in a bush, it's like just or in a unfortunate back alley, you gon' get stabbed. You gon' get stabbed.
Okay, well, Smithy clearing it off the race, will be able to transition up into his red. And Mandatory Cloud helping him out there, giving a little pat on the back. But, yeah, they will be able to back off there. I don't know, we'll have to see how the ganks are going to kind of progress. They will have to watch out. And actually, Zion Spartan, is he going to be, or I'm sorry, Atlanta's picking it up. That's
Yeah.
right. I forgot for a second that Alistar wasn't jungling. But yeah, so Pixel and Zig, they're going to be heading down to the bottom lane. Graves is actually a pretty nice matchup against Urgot usually. It used to be a really common matchup because the passive armor that you have, it helps counter out some of that Urgot damage, and then also you can push him into the tower very easily, and Urgot struggles against tower pushes. Couple that with the fact that if Urgot gets the lock on, they could just decide to fight it outright and just force the fight. Pixel is level 2 though, the pulverized headbutt back on the Aphromoo. They do have the heals to back out of there, so they are going to be okay.
So with that though, it's still a little bit of damage. It's not too much. It's no big deal. But that is the power of the Alistar support, though. It's just the fact that if you get a little bit too close, if you get that engage you want, and that's the thing too. If you're pushing out, in Dynamic, they're looking to push out here in the lane, and there's that little ridge. There's a little forest wall right on the side, right on that left side there, that you can still catch someone on that with the headbutt, with the pulverize, and they are trapped. Because remember, if you do hit someone with that headbutt, and they can't travel any further, if they hit a wall, if they hit something hard, they will just, all that extra time that was supposed to be in transit will translate into a hard stun. And for an AD, especially like Graves, who has that attack speed steroid, that could mean absolute doom.
Yeah, so we'll see how that can kind of work out. In the meantime, Ball's doing a nice job pressuring the top, but again, Zion Spartan, Rumble is going to be very weak in the early couple of levels, so we'll see how he kind of transitions out of that lane. He's playing very safe right now and just kind of keeping even, not allowing Yorick to take any early advantages, and that's the big thing. He hasn't had to use any health pots left yet, so he should be pretty safe there. And we'll have to see, how this game can kind of progress. Lee Sin, a little bit more aggressive as far as ganks than Shyvana is, but he needs to get off kills early. So, the big concern for Lee Sin is going to be the fact that you want to get kills early as Lee Sin to try and snowball, but there's not a lot of killing opportunities. Like they just don't have a strong killing team. And
also if Lee Sin, if he falls off completely, and he just, at that point, he just becomes a kicking and shield bot. That will really that's really always going to contribute if Atlanta does not get what he needs, if he does not get the proper farm, if he falls behind drastically. And no one ever wants to see Lee Sin reduced to that. They want to see the action, they want to see the kicks, they want to see that karate. They want to see that karate in action, man.
Oh, everybody likes kung fu fighting.
Everybody does. Who doesn't?
But in the meantime, Pixel doing a nice job, keeping position in the bottom. So he's able to control that bush. There's not a ward yet from Muffin Cutie. Cutie control that. And they really don't have enough damage to take down Aphromoo right now. So mostly he's just staying there for vision. He's just making sure that they don't allow Shyvana to maybe come into that lane, surprise them by anything. They don't have quite enough burst. And then if Urgot gets the lock on, Pixel's ready to just knock him away, get him out of range of Zig, so that Zig would be pretty safe there.
Yeah, Atlanta there in that side brush, trying to do what he can against Rise, but there's too much, there's too much gap to close. You do not want to be hitting the Q once again in that situation. You don't want to put yourself in that bad spot. Smithy is waiting here. Top lane does have the blue up, peeked out, peeked just for a second. Zion Spartan knows he's there. He's going to hop that back into that bush. He's going to recall. There's the thing though, there's no vision there unless you can get Yorick to actually throw a ghoul down. But Zion Spartan's deciding to stay in lane, despite the fact seeing Smithy actually peek out of that brush.
Yeah, and they will be able to go in for this. The exhaust from Xmithy will be going out. Zion Spartan, he did use his flash, and he's going down very quickly. They have enough damage to follow up on it. There's the first blood. Xmithy able to pick it up, but Lee Sin in the meantime, he's setting up in the bottom lane, wants to get up a gank here. It's going to be kind of tough. I'm not sure that they have enough damage, even with Lee Sin there.
Zion knew. I am not sure why he decided to stick around for that. He was fine. He could have just recalled that, but she could have just walked back to tower. He could have recalled. That could have been a first blood averted, but he decided to stick around. It was like, Shyvana, come on, come at me, bro. Oh, wait. Never mind.
Yeah, and I think he was thinking because he sat in the bush long enough that Shyvana probably recalled and was trying to get out of there, just expecting that he would have recalled. So he was hoping to bait out the recall, couldn't quite get it done, and even then he thought he could get out of there, but not quite able to follow up on it. In the meantime, Aphromoo actually engaging on the Zig, but there it is, the exhaust on both of the ADs. Zig is pretty low. They do have the heal benefit from Muffin Cutie, so Pixel getting some nice damage there, but that's actually going to turn against them a little bit because Soraka is just going to be able to heal back up Aphromoo.
So at the very least, Dynamic, just go ahead ahead, push the wave. If they really want to, they can go back and just heal completely. But that is also partially the reason why the Alistar Graves combo works, is because most times, if you're with an Alistar, you need to stick pretty close to your support if you want to capitalize the most on that headbutt pulverized combo. But you do have Graves with the dash. He's going to be using that in those engages anyway to get that attack speed steroid. And it just works so well. It's like, oh man, you're doing that thing. I'm going to come over, I'm going to help.
Yeah, so in the meantime, Lee Sin setting up in the top lane, really just waiting out to see if Shyvana's going to be going for another gank onto Rumble. Wants to make sure they can counter that out, but Zion Spartan engaging after balls, chasing him down. There is the Ignite as well. The Exhaust going down, and they will be able to chase him down. Atlanta is going to get the kill, yes! So they do pick that up. Mandatory Cloud coming up as well, but not able to turn it around, so Zion Spartan pulling back into the lane.
Yep, Ryze and Shyvana were just a little bit too late to the party. They were not able to help out. And with that, though, Orianna's just going to be free to push that wave up into the mid and also double back and grab the blue buff for herself as well. In the meantime, Smithy's also going to be grabbing the red buff. Going to have a little bit of a better time there, looking to gank, and hopefully we'll be getting something in the near future. But in the meantime, though, it's also, I think it's also warranted to take a little bit of a look at the farm too, which is really even. Just a small disparity there in bot lane. Graves has a little bit of a lead, but about 10 creeps or so up on Urgot. But as far as the creep, the creeps are, the game itself is incredibly even so far.
Yeah, and that's actually really huge for Graves to have a nice advantage over Urgot, considering that they have this disadvantage against Soraka. But Graves has been able to push Urgot into the tower pretty aggressively. It's denied some ganking opportunities, but Shyvana, making her way down to the bottom lane, wants to get off a gank here.
But Pixel, he's not too far away. The headbutt onto Ryze could be huge. Nice flash to get out of that one. Like the last second, he saw the cow come in, waited for that animation to start, and boom. Out to safety. Nice flash there from Mandatory Cloud.
Yeah, really nice job, but it doesn't cost Pixel anything to throw off that kind of a gank.
Right.
So, you know, we'll see how he progresses. Zig was perfectly safe in the bottom lane. And Smithy is waiting down here if they decide for an aggressive engage, though. But I don't think they're going to be able to tower dive this, so it will be kind of difficult for them. We'll see how they can, you know, pressure this. But I think Smithy's just kind of wasting his time.
But also do keep in mind that Atlanta's actually not too far behind either. He's actually down by small golems. He's actually going to be making his own way around here, so I think he may trade for need. There is the flash, the headbutt, following the pulverize, and Aphromoo is going to get caught a little bit there. Here comes the ult coming from Graves, and the kick, keeping everybody popped up. Nice job by Atlanta, but he is exhausted. He is going to get very low, and the swap from Aphromoo will actually be more than enough, and Pixel does manage to finish up onto the Urgot headbutt back into the lane, and Zig can now get a whole bunch of damage down onto Smithy, and Pixel, he's waiting for his cooldowns, something, anything, and both the AD and support here for Dynamic will live after that engage. 3 for 1. Nice job.
Yeah, that's throwing Zig way ahead at that point in time. And it's kind of interesting, instead of saving Lisa Atlanta, he went for Muffin Cutie. He probably could have helped pick up the kill, though, onto Urgot. If he had just turned to Urgot real quick, one attack, and then Atlanta would have been able to get out of there. But hunting down the kills, he was, you know, greedy there. So definitely, you know, nice job, a 3-for-0 exchange, or 3-for-1 exchange. And he can come back in the lane. He's going to be extremely aggressive. But Urgot picking up the chain vest, so it's going to be difficult for them to deal the same kind of damage that they need to. So we'll have to see, but mid-game come around, you know, if Graves can finish his item build, he's definitely going to have enough damage to take down these, you know, heavy physical tanks.
Actually, let's take a quick look at the gold to see how far along we are. Actually, so I mean, he's doing pretty well in farm. He's at about 3,800 gold so far. He's got the BF sword. It's just a matter of getting the rest of those components and getting that farm on. But then, you know, you look in comparison, you look at Urgot though. After that fight, is actually severely behind. But you see now he's starting to tank up. He's got the brutalizer. He's got the chain vest. He's going to be looking for that glacial shroud. So with the brutalizer in and of its own on an Urgot, that's usually, you know, the bulk of what you need. You get the cooldown reduction coming in from the glacial shroud. You get the cooldown reduction for the brutalizer, and that's more than enough to just spam.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a really strong build. It's been a common build for Urgot for a long time. You just, you know, build yourself very tanky, but you have enough damage even without building a lot of damage. Pixel is chasing after Muffin Cutie though, gets the headbutt pulverized, and there is the quick burst from Zig, just instantly killing him. He has the red buff as well, but he is trapped between a rock and a hard place. Aphromoo swapping him over the wall, and this actually might work out for Zig, just barely surviving there, dodging off of Aphramoo's Qs. Attack does take him down though, and Paradoxical with the ultimate is able to pick up the kill. Ryze goes down. Lee gets in with the shield in, and they're able to get a 2-for-1 exchange.
Very, very, very well done from Dynamic. And yeah, you're right. That swap actually kind of probably worked out better for Sig than anybody else. Like, oh man, now I'm up on this ridge where you can't see me. Good luck, but they still managed to get the kill, but it took a little bit extra effort that could have been used and could have been focused on other members of Dynamic that were actually nearby, and you know, because of that extra effort, just delayed a few things, and just really helped out Dynamic actually.
Yeah, it was just a nice awareness from Aframu, though, recognizing, you know, when he's throwing off auto attacks that you get vision of him, so killing him over the wall there.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that kind of factors in. It is just less than a 1K gold advantage for Dynamic, so even with those kills, the game is incredibly even. Rumble, you know, he's a little bit behind Yorick right now, so Yorick's definitely done a nice job pressuring him in that top lane. You know, Balls has been really on top of his lane this entire tournament, so you know, we'll see how he can continue pressuring that.
Yep, but both top laners, they do have their sustain items now. You got the tier on the Balls, you got the revolver there onto Zion, so that's really all they really need to try and just stay up top lane for as long as they possibly can. They don't really have to back as often as they normally do.
Zig crushing him.
Oh, that hurts. That like, oh god, that's like taking a shot at the doctor. It's just like you look at something like that, like you're like, ooh, oh, that's rough.
And then you get a, I don't know, Band-Aid, and you have a lollipop. But they do back off. Dynamic, they are in position for this dragon now. It is a 4v3. Shyvana was up top. I'm not sure that they actually have vision of Shyvana, but they're going to drop this very quickly. Rise coming down, can't quite pressure it, and they do grab that fairly easily.
Yeah, with that, and Mandatory Cloud does manage to snatch Paradoxical as he's returning to the mid. A good amount of chunk, nothing huge, nothing is going to get a kill, but enough for Harass, enough for Mandatory Cloud to actually get a nice little health lead there in the mid lane. So he's going to have that at least with him. But Atlanta will be there, get some support for the AP mid, trying to even things out a little bit. Xmithy also looking to wander around.
Yeah, he stole the blue, actually. So nice job there, getting in, recognizing that they're over by the dragon. Now he is set up in the mid lane, and Paradoxical in Atlanta, they don't see him here. He's walking right into Paradoxical, but he's actually going to walk right past them, so doesn't want to force the fight. He knew that Rumble was on his backside, so, you know, saw him down by the blue ward, didn't want to pressure a fight when it was 3v2.
And also, if that fight were to happen, Xmithy really wouldn't have had a whole lot of options other than to use the dragon form, which, remember, it may not have really a hard cooldown, but you have to wait for the Fury. You have to wait for that to actually acquire first before you can actually use it, and that could put you at a huge disadvantage if you use it now and you don't have all that Fury for later to actually just let it pop off.
Yeah, so we'll see how they can continue pressuring this, but MTW right now, they have really great ward coverage, particularly in the top. You know, it is a lot of gold invested in there, but it allows them to not allow Dynamic to continue pressuring them. So we'll see how they can kind of swear things off, but it is a 1K gold disadvantage right now. You know, with that dragon going down, Dynamic doing a nice job pressuring them. And they are looking, you know, kind of set for that comeback. You know, despite the fact that MTW, they get that same tanky comp.
But it's just a matter of, you know, how long does this game actually need to go on when you start seeing, you know the difference between, you know, MTW getting tanky and, you know, Dynamic looking to see if they can have that damage output to actually just start turning this around. Meanwhile, Mandatory Cloud, huge chunk, huge amount of damage there in the mid, just vanishes before our eyes.
Yeah, and in the meantime, they are chasing down Zion Spartan in the top lane. He will be able to back off, but they will be able to take down this mid turret. They can actually pressure the second one as well if they decide to keep up on it, but they will back off, and now they have an opportunity to tower dive bottom. They have a 4v2 advantage. Orianna is kind of low, but Lee Sin is going for it.
Atlanta does have the kick available, so you can go in from behind turret, kick someone into range, and you can just get the nice 1-2 combo there from started. There you go, wait for the swap. The swap does not complete. Aframu, the 1-2 coming in from Dynamic. Very well done.
Yeah, and that's huge, holding on to the headbutt pulverize for Pixel, because a lot of times it can be pretty easy for Urgot when you're having a gank come from multiple directions to just swap with someone, get it off in the opposite direction. But they're able to chain the CCs, so, you know, nice job there. They get the mid turret as well. In the meantime, though, Rice will pick up his blue.
Yep, Zion Spartan, he will be he's still camping out that turret. Just Balls, the pressure is a little much to contend with. And you even saw Zion earlier use the ultimate, just go ahead, clear the wave, make sure he can still get that gold, still get experience, and just, you know, we'll try and lay off some of the pressure there. But Ball's also taking a few turret shots on his own, so he just needs to be careful whenever he does that. But there is sufficient ward coverage, though, from MTW there in the top river. Practically the entire thing is sealed off. But here comes Pixel. Rumble ult, forcing the flash. Oh, he's not going to get the pulverize, but there you go. Flash goes from Zion's part. And there you go. You got Lee Sin trying to get what he can. The ult was down on ball, so he will be back. But you do have Xmithy in pursuit. The exhaust going down onto the Alistar. With Mandatory Cloud is still here. You still got the ghoul. Paradoxal trying to do what he can. The Orianna ult isn't going to be enough, and I think the Alistar will live.
Yeah, just barely getting out of there, but Graves is off on the side, so they do have to watch out that MTW doesn't get some nice vision here. Atlanta is going to be clearing up that wave up there, but Pixel just barely surviving in that situation. Zig is waiting, though. He wants to pick off a kill. No one really quite available, so they will back off. Aphromoo has done a nice job pressuring down that bottom lane, but you know, we'll see. Dynamic, they're actually pressuring mid here, and with the movement speed boost from Orianna, they're going to get some really nice damage on this tower.
And here you go. You got MTW with their defense. They're rushing right down there to the mid-tier 2. They need to defend this, but it's going to be too late, unfortunately. Zig, Paradoxical, they will be able to get away from that one. Actually, I thought he threw off the ult for a second there, but with all of that pressure, managed to just squeak out another tower, more global gold, extended the lead for Dynamic, and now they just go ahead and fall back and revel in their victory, and also just decide to push down bot and top, because Rumble's still there, Atlanta can get some farm, is always a good thing, and Zig can be there to clean up as well.
Yeah, and the big thing is that Zig is incredibly fed right now. So, you know, that's what you need to counter off this kind of a Bruiser team. Yes, they have a lot of physical health. They will be able to survive that with all of their armor, but they are in a dangerous situation. Zion Spartan, though, kind of being baited out by Xmithy once again, and he's actually going to engage. No, he just peeked, but then not.
Are you going to go back this time?
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Xmithy will have to back out of there, but...
okay, yeah, there you go.
He's going to be safe. He will be able to back off. He has, you know, done a pretty nice job keeping even in that lane, but Balls, you know, takes a slight advantage there.
Yeah, I'm glad Zion learned from his previous mistake. Is like, I remember what happened last time I stuck around after you peeked out, and I regret it. This time, not going to happen, and saw, the swap come in. Aphromoo just did that just to get away, just to make sure that he wasn't just slammed into the wall. And when you have to use an ult, especially an ult like Urgot, which you see so commonly used as an initiation tool, as a displacement tool, just to get away, it speaks a little bit to how MTW is feeling about their current position in the game.
Yeah, but it's a short cooldown, so not really that much of a concern. But yeah, it's still, it won't allow them to be quite as aggressive. But for the most part, they're looking to farm for a little bit anyway. Ball's getting some nice damage on the Zion. We'll be able to force him back out of there. But Dynamic, they can take down this dragon very easily. So there it is, another safe dragon. 6k gold lead for Dynamic right now, and they can continue pressuring, you know, MTW.
So there is a ward in that brush. MTW does know they're in a little bit of danger. But also, you got to bring up again something you mentioned during Champ Select about MTW and not the greatest initiation in the world with this comp.
Yeah, no, that is kind of difficult for them, and just the fact that Paradoxical can kite fairly easily, it will make things kind of difficult for them to force these fights. So yeah, we'll see, you know, how they can kind of control it. I don't know, right now, Dynamic, they have a really nice lead, and the big thing for them is to, you know, keep pressuring it. They do have a decent pushing team, but, you know, they will have to watch out that they don't get snared by Ryze when they're trying to take down the turrets. But I think the fact that they have that kiting advantage, they should be able to pressure the towers of MTW and then be pretty safe getting out of there as well. Yeah,
it just got to watch out for them swaps, too, because, well, or at the very least, as we saw before, force them out, force them to use them. So, great, yeah, it is on a short cooldown, but it's still, that was a window that allowed Dynamic to just go in and muscle out the dragon.
Yeah, and so we'll have to see. Right now, MTW, they're starting to get to that point in time where their comp is going to be incredibly strong if they have team fights. They're just a little bit behind in gold, which makes things kind of difficult, particularly since, like we said, they can't really force a fight, so they need to be able to pressure objectives and make Dynamic, you know, bring the fight to them. So being behind, that's kind of difficult. Like, it's, you know, it's difficult to run this kind of a team when you're behind. So you know, we'll see how they can handle it. Hopefully everything's going okay with the game and everything will be sorted shortly, but in the meantime, I don't know, we'll have to see. Ryze is incredibly powerful late game, and you know, I think the shields are going to be a concern for MTW. The fact that Dynamic is going to be pretty tough to take down with the Orianna and Lee Sin shields, and then having the Alistar as well to knock people away. Even if Ryze does get a snare, it might be kind of difficult for him to pick up a kill.
But also do remember, though, what Dynamic did game number 2 against World Elite, because they did make that attempt for that really aggressive Baron. And it's something Dynamic likes to do. They like to go for those early Barons if they ever get the opportunity. And you know what? If mTw can initiate on Dynamic, let the Baron do it. You know, just kill enough time until Dynamic actually makes those attempts. And that could actually be all the clearance mTw could need to actually get in on this.
Yeah, and the big thing is catching mTw, or catching Dynamic out of position. So, you know, we'll see what they can force here. They do have, you know, the nice movement speed and control with Shyvana if they can try and force a fight. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Dynamic, I don't expect that they're going to be pressuring Baron anytime soon. You know, even with the control that they have, just because they have a nice lead and they don't want to throw it away. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and also considering what happened earlier on in the game, I mean, it's we actually saw it with Zion seeing Smithy peek out of the brush. It's just I remember what happened earlier on today, and it didn't quite turn out so well. So I'm going to keep that fresh in my mind, and I'm going to remember that for the rest of the weekend because it may very well come up again. But Atlanta, with that Oracle, is going to be clearing out the ward in the pit. But you do see mTw, they're looking to mobilize. He got a 4-man push here top, but Aframu on his own actually in the mid. I think he's just looking to push up that wave. He's also looking to defend here. But you got a gank squad in the works here from mTw, but that tri-brush is warded from Dynamic. Zion Spartan is up to the plan.
And so they are going to be pushing them out, but Alistar, he will be able to get this engaged. The wall, actually snare over the wall onto Paradoxical. He's very low, but the Rumble ultimate countering it out some, and the heals from Soraka. But Smithy crushing Paradoxical, and there's the big thing. Paradoxical is down. It opens up an opportunity for mTw. Zion Spartan getting caught out of position. The Dragon ultimate back, but they can't quite pick him up. They are all getting very low, but Aframu with the swap into Zig, and then the Rise Prism as well. They are all very tanky, but the Soraka just barely keeping them alive. Zig, the exhaust once again, and mTw has won this fight. They're able to pressure him out of those Zigs, trying to back off. The concern is what can mTw press now, and really nice control from them.
Now here's the thing, they won this fight so convincingly. They got Paradoxical, caught him out of position, and just swept entirely. It's a 1 for 4, but remember, they are this tanky, but they can't quite topple over Baron at this point. Mandatory Cloudy is a huge chunk of the team's damage, but what they can do is they can continue to pressure the objectives. They can clean up the tier 1 here in top, then go ahead and then push out the remaining lanes, and look at how far that gold lead has closed. Yeah. It's a mere like 3K now.
No, that was absolutely a huge fight for mTw, and again, this is the point in the game where mTw's team comp is going to be incredibly strong, and Dynamic, they've been able to pressure some early advantages. They have an incredibly strong comp as well, so it's just a matter of keeping Paradoxical alive. But the big thing was Smithy had the 1v1 against Paradoxical in that entire fight. He was able to just absolutely rock him, and if that happens again, that could be very dangerous for them. But we'll have to see how Dynamic can run the fights. mTw, though, this is the point of their game. This is where their time to shine. They need to make things happen right now if they expect to get this win. Dynamic, on the other hand, they need to keep doing what they've been doing all game up until that fight and just continue to pressure mTw.
But alas, after that last fight, mTw did buy some goodies for themselves. Frozen Heart there on to the Urgot. You got the Chain Vest there. Onto York, he's going to be building up, he's going to be taking up more of that. You got Rise there, the possibility for a Banshee's Veil there, plus the completed Glacial Shroud already. So the tank is here already. But yeah, like I mentioned, it's these future team fights coming on up. And Pixel down there in the middle of the Baron pit, once again wants to clean out that ward. That is still an objective that either team could easily try and force and see if they can't catch somebody out of position.
Yeah, and right now Zig is very powerful, so as long as they have the front line to protect him, then he's going to be fine. And it's going to be kind of difficult for mTw to defend against him, but having the Rise, if Rise can be aggressive enough, if Rise thinks that he's tanky enough, he can chase down Zig, and that's going to be a big issue for them. Protecting Graves against that Rise, if Rise hits the snare onto Graves, that can be really devastating for mTw. Really great ward coverage from both teams, though. They're going to pressure this out. Zig actually running into Smithy will get some nice damage, doesn't force the fight, and so they will little retreat.
Oh, but Zion Spartan is actually getting caught out top lane with balls in pursuit, though. He's going to get all those ghouls down, put down a lot of harass. And with that, though, it's forcing Rumble to back. York can rejoin with the rest of his team. And with that, though, you're still seeing them. You're still seeing mTw just trying to muscle out Dynamic at this point. You do have Evermoo. He does have the ult up. He could try and get the swap if he closes the gap, if he manages to do that. But here's the thing, though. You have the Shirelias in progress on Soraka, but Muffy Cutie hasn't finished it yet. But after forcing the Rumble back, that ult's not going to be a problem, even though it's already down. But the Baron, there comes the flash. The swap. Paradoxical is going to get caught out again in the middle of Smithy trying to contest here. Paradoxical should be killed right there. Urgot getting that kill. Pixel caught out from behind. You still have Zig out there on the outskirts in that other brush, trying to get all the damage he needs to, trying to get that ult, but he cannot connect. 2 free kills for mTw, plus they can just go right back to the Baron.
Yeah, and they have a much better Baron team this time around with that Wriggles on Shyvana, but the flash Urgot saw easily picking that up. Mandatory Cloud doesn't want to sit near them, and actually they pick up the Baron with the snare onto Atlanta. He's going to go down very quickly, and mTw has completely turned this around despite the early advantages for Dynamic.
Yep.
They weren't able to keep up the pressure, and it got to the point in the game where mTw was able to take over with their team.
Despite the early advantages and despite having the inferior initiation, but you know what? Flash swap, still pretty good.
Yeah.
It's still pretty good on its own, and that's the thing too. Dynamic, they're so reliant on having everyone be there for these fights. They need to have everyone there represented with your ultimates in order to make things work. You focus out. Granted, yeah, Zig's the most farmed on the team, but Paradoxical is one with the shields, with the initiation, with the orb to try and connect with a lot of damage here, and it's a critical part of the team. Same thing with Rumble. Same thing with Alistar. You focus someone out, and everything falls apart.
And the big thing is that Dynamic hasn't had perfect positioning in these team fights.
No.
The last fight in particular, Orianna way up front. As a result, even though Zig is very strong, he's not getting opportunities to attack the enemy. He's not able to do any damage, and so as a result, they're just way too tanky for them to deal with. Graves is pushing up top though, so he does get the turret. He will have to recall, but this is going to be another turret for mTw. They're going to take this fairly easily, and then they can transition into that mid.
Yeah, Dynamic knows they cannot defend this right now. You might as well take what you can get while everyone else is distracted with other objectives. But right now, all of mTw is at the front door of Dynamic. You do have the Rumble ult just there to dissuade them. No Pulverize coming in for Alistar, but that's the thing though, you're only delaying the inevitable. Here comes the next minion wave. That Baron buff is still fresh, still have 3 minutes on that thing. That is an eternity when you're in a position like this, like the one Dynamic is in.
Yeah, and having the regen plus the Soraka with the Rumble ultimate down, it might be difficult for Dynamic to wear them down. The got stuck,
nice.
But the headbutt Pulverize to turn it around.
Oh.
There's the Orianna ultimate, actually picking off Afrobu, but they just don't have any damage. Everyone for mTw is extremely high still. They have the regen, they have the heals, and there's just not enough damage from Dynamic.
I think that's probably as good as it gets for Dynamic though. Like you managed to single someone out, you managed to cancel the swap. But that's it though, the pressure's still going to continue. You're not pushing mTw away. The nice head up Pulverize there from the Alistar, and Ryze is actually focused down immediately. Xmithy there taking the turret, and there Soraka going to be going down as well. Xmithy is a ghoul. It's not going to matter. That's not the Xmithy you want to be focusing. But still though, you already killed him.
That's about as good as it gets for Dynamic.
I eat my words. I ate my words. That was a fantastic Pulverize.
Play, yeah.
I apologize for that one. And you know what? That was fantastic. That was wonderful from Dynamic.
Yeah.
That Pulverize.
The combo AoE, being able to pick up those kills, Ziggs is incredibly strong right now. And the big thing is they were organized as a team, so Ziggs was able to get his damage out. Pixel just going to walk up and tank this. They have the shields from Orianna as well.
They don't have much time.
Zig is trying to take this down very quickly, but Pixel getting low. There's the minion wave, so they will be okay. And Pixel just backing off in time. So one more attack.
There you go.
Oh! Swap. He's out of position, and there's the Rumble ultimate to turn it around. The headbutt Pulverize and Dynamic. They're going to turn this back on them.
Oh.
Zig does go down, but now mTw is in pursuit. Another kill. York goes down, but Xmithy, he's going to try and force this because he has Ryze and Soraka is back up.
The exhaust down on the Paradoxical. We'll get caught behind the Prism and keep him down, and there goes the Orianna. I wish they just got that one last hit. If Zig just didn't go back in, the swap would have never happened, and this would have just all been avoided. But still though, even with that tower down, there is no way Dynamic was able. There's no way they would have been able to get that mid inhib. No way. Yeah. mTw, they're so close to coming back up. If they decided to go for that inhibitor, everyone would have been back up, and actually could have ended up worse. So it's still rough. It's still a rough spot for Dynamic. But with that, though, the gold has equalized. The Baron buff will be gone soon. And you know what? There's still something here. There is still something here.
Yeah,
look
no,
at
it is
that. Look at that
at this
gold.
Point.
Look at Zig.
43.7K to 43.3K, so a back and forth game, and it has evened out.
Wow.
Dynamic, they pulled themselves back into position, and the big thing with taking down that mid turret is Dynamic opened up an opportunity where if they win one team fight, all of a sudden they're going to get an inhibitor off of it. They can start to pressure mTw, and then they can kite them. With one inhibitor down, the kiting game, it factors in a little bit more because they don't have to force a fight against mTw.
But
so we'll see how they can pressure it.
But remember, though, they are still tanky as all hell, and the longer this game gets, the tankier they're going to get. You got the Abyssal down onto Rise. You got a little bit more health on Shyvana. You guys got the Giant's Belt and the Warden's Mail onto York now. That's going to be a random wins later on. The Maw onto Urgot. That's going to be huge. That's going to be absolutely huge because that shield, on top of all the other shields, oof.
Yeah, no, they are incredibly difficult to deal with right now. And actually, Dynamic, they're pressuring right down the mid. I'm not sure, did they catch a vision of them? I don't know if they actually saw mTw, but no, they're actually going to back off. So just pushing down mid.
Yeah.
So the big thing is mTw, they're going to want to catch off Dynamic in the jungle. And Dynamic recognizes that right now. So by pushing down the mid lane, they force mTw to meet them in lane where they have that lane advantage. They have the vision. It allows them to just, I don't know, think a little bit about what they're doing safely. So they can, sit back, have the fights that they want. They're like, oh, there they are. Okay,
and
so that's fine.
Off.
Now we can back off.
Nice slow coming in from Para. Going to keep Urgot there on the back line where he belongs. Make sure he has closed the gap to go ahead and get that swap. But the kick in from Atlanta, I'm not sure about this one, but you do have the Rumble come on in. The kick back over to the Dragon Form Frank Smithy going to be going towards the back line. But mTw is in the middle of things. They're going down a little bit quicker than expected, but Zion Spartan is as well. That took for a while, but Rise and Rumble going to be first down to go down. Muffin Cutie is in the back getting on those heels, and Atlanta trying to still get what he can. Shyvana and Elster going to be next one to go down. The double kill there for the Urgot. Soraka going down to the Graves, and Zig is a fed little dude. Can he go ahead and connect with any more? Afromoose still trying to get to the tower, but Zig, what a hero.
Yeah, and the big thing is, you saw at the beginning of that fight how difficult it was for Zig to take anyone down. He was fighting Shyvana for a while, but all of mTw, they're all in a little clump. Actually, Zig getting kind of low. Afromoon trying to force them out of there along with balls. They're trying to poke down the inhibitor desperately, but they are getting very low. Another lock on from Afromoon, but there's Zig with the turnaround. He gets the kill, and then Zig finishing it up, gets the revenge, but they do pick up the inhibitor, and now they can back off.
I am so on edge right here. Like, I cannot imagine what it's like to be playing on Dynamic right now. Like, that adrenaline has got to be pumping through Zig's veins right now. It's just like, because that team fight could have gone horribly, horribly wrong, but Atlanta, they're right in the middle of that chaos, being a boss. And there's the thing too, Xmithy actually just zoomed right in towards the back line. Xmithy was not in that huge clump. So that's still a fair amount of damage there on mTw, especially while in Dragon form, but Zig had all the time in the world. He had all the time in the world to do whatever he wanted.
The big thing is they need to get up in Zig's face and prevent him from dealing that kind of damage. But Mandatory Cloud was pressured extremely aggressively by Atlanta. Atlanta just dove right onto Mandatory Cloud, bursted him down very quickly. And so with how low he wasn't quite able to be involved in that fight. So he didn't go down immediately, but still being that low, he couldn't be quite as aggressive as he would like to be. And really that's what lost it for mTw, was the really nice play from Atlanta.
And with that, Zig, now the Quicksilver Sash going to be a little bit safer. Bloodthirster, Phantom Dancer, Last Whisper, that is a lot of damage on the AD carry here of Dynamic. But you do look at mTw, as I said before, as time goes on, the tank still builds up. Warmogs now onto York. There you go, great. He's still going to get oh, there's the headbutt. The pulverize there coming in from Pixel. Want to focus on Averwood. He's not a factor in his fight, but he still has that swap up Rumble to try to focus on Mandatory Club. But Balls is still caught out of the back. In Atlanta, can he get whatever damage he needs to? Down onto the Rise. The swap coming on in, but what Zion Spartan will be caught out with that, and mTw is in one massive chaos clump here in the middle of the map, straight on out. But they actually take this one 2 for free.
Yeah, and Mandatory Cloud was able to stay up through that entire fight, which was the big thing. But they weren't able to pressure them out. They really need the fights to last a little bit longer. So they, or Dynamic does, in order to get Graves involved. But we'll see what mTw can do now. They're going to be able to take down this mid inhibitor. They should, be able to grab this fairly easily. So again, the game equalizes. Almost dead even gold. mTw with a slight advantage, but the inhibitors, they're both down. mTw is actually a slight lead because their inhibitor is going to be spawning again shortly.
Yep, and there you go. The mid inhib going to go down. This time for Dynamic, but Zig still wants to try and make something happen here. Shirelia's being popped there down from Pixel, but they will not be able to close the gap. They will not be able to get what they want. Smokescreen going down, Warden to Bush in response, and no vision there from Dynamic. They will not see mTw retreat.
Yeah, and so they are moving over towards the Baron, though, and this is what we've seen from Dynamic.
They got the damage.
Time again. There's no ward coverage from mTw. They are recalling. They're in a terrible situation here to try and defend this, and Pixel, with the shields from Paradoxical, will be able to tank this fairly easily. It is dropping very quickly. It's at half, and there is no way mTw is going to be back in time, so Dynamic picks themselves up a Baron.
This is huge. This is absolutely huge, and now Dynamic taking over that gold lead. It's only 1,000 gold on the 36th minute, but it's still something. And with that, with the Baron, for the next 4 minutes, they're calling the shots for sure. They can go ahead, they can push down top, they can push down bot, and they can just go ahead and pick up all of the loose ends here. And they were down. They were down for quite a bit. But you know what? With that opportune moment, mTw having to recall, Dynamic picking that up, and the Baron buff is now theirs. They got to defend. mTw can't really poke out too much here.
Yeah, it makes things very difficult for them, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Again, Dynamic, if they can, poke them down a little bit and make these fights last a little bit longer. The big thing is Zion Spartan not getting caught out of position. And the previous fight, they thought that they had Paradoxical, or they thought they had Mad Cloud. They're trying to chase Mandatory Cloud out, trying to force him back, prevent his damage's rise. But it actually opened up Zion Spartan to the swap from Urgot, which really hurt them a lot. So, we'll see with this Baron now. If they play it slow, they can, just slowly wear them down and win the longer exchanges.
Dynamic looking for their invade, and he also got the Oracles there, still onto Atlanta. So right now mTw is going to be a little bit further into dark here, but top turret is actually looking pretty tasty. That tier 2 is still up and around, and Dynamic with all their muscle power can just go ahead and force it straight out. mTw looking to deal with the push there in the mid. They don't want it to get too out of control, but here's the thing too, with this Baron buff and with the pushing power, mTw, if mTw stalled at one of their own towers, they can't keep it up forever. They're going to have that super minion push to eventually have to deal with. So for the meanwhile, Balls is going to push it back as far as he can just so he can set up the defense for mTw here. And now with the tier 2 down top, Dynamic continues.
Yeah, and Zig has so much damage now, but after getting that turret, they can transition right over to the mid inhibitor, and mTw has to sit back and watch them take it. Yeah,
and it should go down actually pretty quick here. But you do have Oriana there, way in the back. You got the lock-on coming from afterwards, so he's going to get a little bit of free damage if they want to get in this fight, and it's right there. That is the target. They want to take down that Zig. But with this here, speed buff coming in, will Pixel be able to get something? They do have turrets actually still going down here, but Dynamic, you're waiting for their moment. You're waiting for it.
Yeah, and Zig, the turret is there, the inhibitor is down below half, so they get some nice damage. They're all clumped up though, they're in a nice little AoE, so what they need to do is get mTw to all clump up. You force them to engage onto like Atlanta and then turn around the AoE onto him, but the inhibitor, just a couple more shots, they do take it down, and mTw, they're trying to force the fight here. Zig, they get the lockdown, but the Rumble ultimate, the headbutt pulverize, and Mandatory Cloud is extremely low. The Graves ultimate, he has to flash out of there and retreat, and so Dynamic will back off, but the inhibitor is theirs.
You saw York, you saw Balls just panic just a little bit. It's like, oh god, Rise is going down. We got to get that goal. We got to keep him in the fight if he goes down. And they managed to still squeak away. No one died. Got the inhib. Everyone out, and ults forced out also there from mTw.
Yeah, now they can pressure them in the top lane. That mid push, it's kind of slow right now. The mTw had pushed it away, but it'll start to build up. And I don't know, we'll see what they can do. But the big thing is for them to poke down the turret and not allow mTw to force an engage.
Outside Spartan, he does get prismed over the wall, so it's a little bit of free damage here from Mandatory Cloud, but he is out in front. So it does leave for the Orianna Orb harass there while he's just trying to get in his free damage. But unfortunately, Wanda is not going to be lasting terribly long. You got the next medium wave coming on in, and Dynamic should be straight on from behind it. The Ghouls going down from York, trying to dissuade everyone, trying to keep slow, trying to see if they can get the initiation that they want. The swap is up from Afro. Actually, if you can get something over the wall, that might actually be brilliant. But here's the thing, though, the Baron buff now going on. There's a swap down on the Paradoxical. Does flash out of there. Here comes the headbutt pulverize coming, and Dragon Form coming from Smithy. But Paradoxical is getting caught out just a little bit. Atlanta's getting caught out as well. But Afro going down very quick. Same thing with Mandatory Cloud, but he has been cooled. He will be back just for a little longer. And Zig actually out on the outskirts can only do so much. But here's the thing, Dynamic, they're getting very low. You still have many healthy members of mTw left. This is a matter of can they clean up, and Pixel goes down. That is a 2 for 3 in mTw's favor. They waited for that buff to go, and that was the moment to strike.
Yeah, and the big thing was Smithy shutting down Ziggs in that fight. Did have the exhaust, was able to dive on him and just really force him out of there. So really nice job. You know, we'll see if Zig can stay alive a little bit easier. He didn't go down, but he just wasn't able to get off any damage output, and that's a serious concern for Dynamic right now. If mTw can shut down their AD carry, then they're going to basically be unkillable to the rest of Dynamic.
Zig was so separated, so far away from the rest of the fight. Everyone is in lane fighting, and he's like lost into trees. This is like, you know, somebody help me, I've got a dragon lady chasing after me. What's going on?
Yeah, so right now mTw, they have stalled off. The inhibitor is back up for them, but they need to wait a couple of minutes for theirs, and then we'll see if they can pressure it in. But this is kind of getting to the point where Smithy, he's going to kind of struggle if he starts to build tanky, so he needs to get more and more damage in order to keep up with Graves, in order to continue putting pressure. So, you know, we'll kind of see how he can continue to pressure this game.
Yeah, and Zig is very close to actually maxing out. So he's got one more BF sword. He's going to be building that into the Infinity Edge, and he's really got nowhere else to go from there. He can just go ahead and elixir on up because he's not going to get rid of that QSS. No way in hell is he getting rid of that at this point in the game.
Yeah, and Dynamic actually setting up by the Baron once again. Graves is down bottom, but they have a great minion wave pushing down the bot turret. So if they decide to push up top, they could maybe take an advantage there. But the big thing is just keeping everything pushed currently. So we'll see. You know, the dragon is up. They could take that. Just, you know, build kind of a nice little gold lead still. Isn't really that big of a deal right now. So we'll see where they go.
And if something is anything, and there you go. Now Zig finishes that IE. He is currently maxed. There's really no more feasible items for him to buy, so he's just going to be buying those elixirs and building that up. But Dynamic trying to get their position here in front of the Baron for when it spawns. They want to try and force it out. And with all that damage coming in from Zig, you know, you saw it before, just him and the Alistar, and you know, they can do it on their own really if they want to. But if the fight breaks out, he's going to need to be here. Ward in the brush. Zig is a little bit far out from the rest of the team. He could actually be soloed out here if mTw is brazen enough, but Afro moves out there just in the middle trying to farm. Mandatory Cloud is separated a little bit away from everybody. Does actually get some free damage onto Pixel, and Pixel can actually get the engage, can get something you want. And there you go, Atlanta's in the middle of the fight. There's a Q to go in. You got the pulverize on the back line of mTw. You've got the rumble coming down as well, but Atlanta should be actually the first one to go down there, and Balls trying to get the damage he needs to. Smithy, the Ghoul, will actually go down, but Muffet Cutie following down there. You got Afro going down as well. Smithy getting very low, Balls getting very low. That is the double kill for Rumble, and Dynamic, oh my God, taking this one back, and that should be it. This should be it.
Yeah, and the best thing about that fight was how Dynamic, they ran the fight. They were very reflexive. So when mTw tried to engage, or they forced the fight into mTw, and then when mTw tried to pursue them and try to chase down Zig and everything, they just kind of caught them like a glove. They backed off, they were able to kite very effectively, and then slowly wear them down. Then the AoE with Graves and with Orianna took them down very quickly. They're getting the bot inhibitor. They can transition to the mid if they like, but they're going straight for the Nexus. They have plenty of time to take it down. Zig is strong enough, so they're going to be able to pick this up. Smithy, not a whole lot that he can do at this point, and it is 1-1. Dynamic is going to take game number 2, which means that we are going into a game number 3. We'll see who can come out on top.
Smithy is the only one who can defend, but you know what? Focus down that Nexus. There's the ace. Good job, Zig. That's it. GG. Game number 3. inbound. mTw Dynamic, neither one of these teams